Hello, my name is Stephen Redman and welcome to Pastor's Library. This is the channel where we discuss all things to do with theology books, whether they be books on a reading list for your bachelor's or master's degree, or whether they are just books you've seen the spine of on your vicar's bookshelf or your pastor's bookshelf. These are books which have an impact and can have a really good impact if chosen well, and we just want to talk about how to access those. So today, I just want to say before anything else, please subscribe if you possibly can. It costs you nothing. Just click on the bell, click on the like button if you like what we say, and all that does is it makes sure that the internet lets you know when there's another episode of Pastor's Library available to you. And we're getting to have quite a good library now on the internet of different subjects, different theology books, series and so on, and I do hope they become useful to you. So today I want us to particularly talk about a series of books which are called Discovering. This was the first one that I found, Discovering Luke by Joel B. Green. Anytime I see a book by Joel B. Green, I pick it up and have a look because I find him to be a truly great theologian, and Luke is his prime area of research, and he has produced some of the best commentaries and relevant books on the Gospel of Luke that are out there. So what I would say to you is I discovered this after I had done a module of study on Luke Acts. And there was a great book that had been the centre of that study for me. And I picked this up and I thought, oh, if I'd have had this, it might have led me in other directions. And I suppose that books like this, which are not commentaries, but are really a guide through the theology of a particular book. And they very specifically lead you through the purpose and themes of the narrative. And they will also talk about the architecture of the book, why it was written in a particular way. And basically what you'd find is that Joel Green will map Luke's Gospel and take you through it. So I was so impressed with this. I was just sat there, I thought, hang on a minute, Discovering. Well, I wonder if there are any more in this series. And sure enough, there are. There are a lot more to come out than have come out. But I've managed to get my hands on Matthew and John, Romans, Genesis and Exodus, and Isaiah. I think that's probably it that I've got. But there are other ones out there, a couple more on the way out, and there will be more in 2022, 2023. And I just think that this series has everything to offer. If you are doing a bachelor's degree on any book of the Bible, or you're studying a module on a particular book, I would immediately look to see if there's a Discovering book on that in that subject for you, because these are all so very good. For example, Ian Provan, who I have to be honest with you, I have never heard of until I got this book, is a great man on the book of Genesis. I mean, I thought I'd read so much on the book of Genesis, there wasn't anything out there that would surprise me, but this has surprised me, and I really got something from this book. It's an excellent book, and this will tell you all the usual things you would expect about Genesis, like when was it written, to whom was it written, and it will take you through some of the themes of Genesis, and it is very helpful. Possibly even better is Ralph Hawkins' treatment of Exodus in Discovering Exodus. This is a really good book. It talks about the presence of God in Exodus. It talks about echoes of Exodus in the New Testament. It talks about echoes of Exodus in Western culture. You will get a real connection with some of the movements of the modern centuries and their connection with Exodus. You'll get connections with art, you'll get connections with poetry. And I just felt that this book was so rich, it really gave me something to dive into. Now, here's the other thing about this series. They're cheap. They're not expensive. They're almost regular paperback cost. And that's quite something these days. I would say an expensive one of these was $19.99 in British money. And some of them were as low as £9.99, £10. And anything that you can buy for £10 to bolster your theological library is got to be good. But these are all written by quality people. For example, I was very surprised to find that Discovering Romans is written by Anthony Thistleton. Now, Anthony Thistleton is a great Anglican theologian with some Pentecostal leanings. He has written one or two of the best commentaries in their fields, such as, for example, 1 Corinthians in the New International Greek Testament commentary series. He's a great guy, great thinker, teaching theology in grad school. He's a really excellent guy. And I would just say to you, this is an interesting book. Now, as I read through it, I thought, I disagree with him on that. And I have to say, I don't disagree with Anthony Thistleton on much. But the point is, it's really a great book at broadening your thought. And of course, we should never limit ourselves to only reading things we agree with. I mean, for me, I think that might mean I would read virtually nothing. But, you know, this is a great little book. And the series is enriching. And I would suggest to you reading a range of ideas is always very good. And I have to say, the vast majority of this book, I'm saying, yes, preach it, Anthony, preach it. This is good. He will give you different viewpoints in here, and he will say this is an existentialist viewpoint, which is the one that sticks in my mind because I don't see that very often in theology books. He'll give you the approach of other reasonably modern theologians and say how that impacts the book and has changed our thinking, perhaps. Discovering John, which is by Ruth Edwards, has hit a second edition now. And this is really interesting. If you look at some of the recommendations on the back cover, Craig Keener recommends this, and Andrew Lincoln, Francis Maloney. These are all well-known people, well-known commentators, and the three that I've just mentioned there are from three very different backgrounds, and all of them recommend it, which has got to tell you something. So this has a great section on the value of John's Gospel today, which I found that really good. It talks about that age-old query that people have levelled at John sometimes. John, a good Jewish boy, people accuse him of being anti-Semitic in some things. And she addresses this, and there's a really good arc that talks about all of that for you. We see a study of particular characters in John's story, and a great wave of work on John's a description of Jesus as the Word incarnate and as the Father's Son. So these are all books to consider. I would say to you, if you can get them for £10 or a little bit more, they are a great bolster to your study library. And when you are looking at, let's say, Luke's Gospel, if you have got 3 books on your shelf which will really impact your study, they can be a great resource. And I would suggest that even at bachelor's level, most people will give you credit for evidence that you have really in-depth studied 6 books, although hopefully you'll have studied more. But the point is, these are books that are achievable financially. You can reach out and stock up on them, and they really are good. And my advice with this Discovering series is get the one of the book you're studying at the moment, and maybe get the one for the next one as well, and see how you go. But some of these great authors like Thistleton, like Green, you're not going to better them. And they've definitely got something to say. And we all need to hear what these people have to say. So the Discovering series, I thoroughly recommend it. In fact, if I was not of a very measured disposition, I could get positively excited about them. These are a great series, and I commend them to you. If you've liked this, click on like, remember to subscribe, remember to click on the bell, and that way you'll know as soon as we issue another episode of Pastor's Library. God bless you.